This next story that I'm going to read to you is also a very short story. It's also written by Jim Bishop. It's called The Turtle. There had been toys around the house before, many of them, but little Dennis loved the 25-cent turtle more than the erector sets, the book of games, the orange scooter, or the baseball mitt. The turtle was about as big as a coin. On his brown shell was his name, Oscar. Dennis loved him, and Dennis was 8 years old. He saved for a 98-cent goldfish bowl, and he packed small, brightly colored stones in it so that, when water was added, Oscar had his own private beach. Then he placed Oscar and the bowl on a window ledge in his room so that the afternoon sun warmed the cold wrinkles in the turtle's legs and moved him. Now and then to slip and slide down the stones into the cool, clear water of the bowl. When Dennis came in from school, he hurried to his room to see what Oscar was doing. Oscar was the first live thing that Dennis had ever owned. One afternoon, Dennis hurried up the stairs and found Oscar on his back, floating. As young as he was, Dennis understood the finality of death. His shoulders shook and his breath caught, and a wail came from his lips. His mother hurried upstairs. She saw her little boy standing, arms hanging straight down, chin on his chest, and she heard the sobs. She knew the genuine sound, and she stood in front of him and held him to her breast. It took her a moment to find out what was the trouble. He was promised a new turtle if he would stop crying. It did not help. The crying continued, and no promise on her part could slow the sobs. She phoned her husband at his office. He was irritable. He had a business to conduct. He got into his car and came home. He hurried straight up to Dennis's room and put his arm around his boy. "You can cry as long as you like," he said softly, "but it will not bring Oscar back. When God calls us, it means that he loves us so much that he cannot bear to be apart from us any longer. God must have loved Oscar a great deal." The sobbing continued. The father kept talking quietly, insistently, and inexorably. Coming home, I kept saying to myself, well, now that Oscar is dead, we should be asking ourselves what we can do to show him how much we loved him. Crying isn't the answer, son. It won't bring him back. What I think we ought to do is to have a funeral service for Oscar. The sobbing of his son began to slow down. The boy was listening. He brushed his shirt sleeve against his eyes and he tried his first few words. "What can we do for him, Dad?" "Personally," the father said in a tentative tone, "I think we ought to bury Oscar in the backyard. We will invite Mommy and all the children of the neighborhood, and I will attend too." Dennis stopped crying. His father took a solid silver cigarette case from his pocket. "See this? This can be Oscar's casket. He will be the only turtle in the world buried in solid silver." The eyes of Dennis glistened. "Will we have a solemn procession?" "Certainly," the father said, "and I will get a big rock and chisel Oscar's name on it so that centuries from now, everybody will know that Oscar is buried there." Dennis was smiling. He looked at the goldfish bowl in time to see Oscar flip on his stomach and swim toward shore. Dennis looked over at his father. "Let's kill him," he said.